Andy McCarthy, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing fine. And I tell you, Andy, neither you nor I were in that courtroom. Most commentators aren't. But we're looking at what came out of that courtroom, Andy McCarthy, and what do you make of this?
You know, Mark, it's a very peculiar case, although I think for a jury trial for the government, it's got all the favorable atmospherics in the sense that you have this kind of aura of corruption, this very poor judgment on McDonnell's part to take all of these gifts, and also the fact that his defense, which was that his marriage was falling apart and his wife was a shrew and all this other stuff, was really kind of offensive in a lot of ways. So I could see him not being likable in the jury's eyes after hearing it. But all that being said, as I followed this case, most people who were paying real close attention to it thought that the bribery counts and the conspiracy count would actually be either dismissed or thrown out by the jury, and that he would be convicted on counts that involved concealing loans on some of his
on reporting requirements.
On reporting requirements, and what happened was exactly the opposite. He got acquitted on those and convicted on the bribery. And as you say, what's really tough here is to see clearly what the official acts were, and I think where it gets even more difficult. I mean, look, if you have a very broad definition of what official acts are, and you can say that the governor gave access to people that the guy paying the bribes might not have otherwise had, yeah, technically maybe that's an official act. But the point is, the thing that the guy who was given the gifts really wanted was state-funded studies of this dietary product called Anatablock that he was coming out with. McDonnell was probably in a position to get that for him, and he didn't. So it seems like the big thing, if there was a quo in the quid pro quo, the big thing the guy wanted, and that McDonnell was probably in a position to get for him, McDonnell didn't give him, and the guy never got. So if you asked McDonnell to explain what it was that the guy wanted out of all this, you come away thinking that he didn't really know.
I mean, basically, we have some emails were sent, we have a dinner, we have things of this sort. But the fact of the matter is, this businessman who was given complete and absolute immunity, that's how horrible he was. He got absolute immunity. He didn't get one penny in state monies, as far as I can tell. He didn't get a single regulation or rule. He didn't get any lobbying from the governor on his behalf to any member of the state assembly. I'm going to tell you something. If this is considered a quid pro quo, I think there's going to be a hell of a lot of politicians. This is a federal case, not a state case. So federal case can apply in any state. I think a hell of a lot of politicians have to be worried about this.
Yeah, I think that's right. And you also have to wonder a couple of things, having watched this Justice Department closely as we have, one of which screamed out at me was, would a Democratic governor been indicted for this? And I must say, I don't think so. I mean, I've seen some of the things that they've allowed go by. Not a corruption case, but this is a close analog. The Obama 2008 campaign had well over, as I understand it, $2 million in campaign finance violations. They were allowed to settle that with a fine to the SEC. That seems to me to be a case that's much more grave than this one. If you get past the seedy appearances of it and get down to brass tacks in terms of what did the guy do in the way of selling, what did McDonnell do in the way of selling his office? So